Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of 12 Paw Designs and my tutorials. I'm Lori Radis with 12 Paw Designs, and this week we're going to take my free pumpkin designs and we're going to turn them into 3D pumpkins. So what you're going to need is some either oval or round or both rounds, some pumpkin colored or orange color paint, some polyacrylic or Mod Podge, tissue paper of your choice. You could also use napkins if you're interested. Some ribbon to decorate the top, or some twine, and some sticks. And you can get those in your yard, or Hobby Lobby has some. And then the last thing to help hold them upright is I actually using the tumble tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. And then of course your vinyl to make the little signs, some brushes for your painting and transfer, and then of course your standard weeding tools. And then make sure you grab the free design off the website so you can have it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take your tissue paper of choice, and I am going to take the tissue paper and I'm going to just take a single sheet of it, and then I'm just going to take one of the ovals, and I'm making 3 pumpkins, so I'm going to do this 3 times. So I'm going to take it 2 of the rounds and 2 of the ovals, and I'm just going to cut out around it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So it's just, you're going to cut around the pieces until you get the size that you need. And I'm going to do this for all 3. You can see I haven't tore it. Again, it does not have to be perfect. Then once you have that done, you're going to take your Mod Podge or your polyacrylic, and you're going to apply a thin coat on your rounds or your wood. And again, very thin, because otherwise you're going to get seepage and it's going to rip. Then you're just going to take your tissue paper and put it over that, and then apply a little bit, another thin layer over the top. And then once you have that done, you're going to set that aside. Now, if you wanted a little color underneath your tissue paper, you could have painted your rounds ahead of time. In my case, I didn't want that. I just kind of wanted more of a neutral tone. But if I was using like a lighter colored, like a seafoam color or white, it could have made them pop a little bit more. So just keep that in mind. You can add that to that as well. And you're going to do all, in my case, I'm going to do all 3 of my wood rounds. So now that our Mod Podge tissue paper is drying, or polyacrylic, I'm going to paint the rest of my wood pieces. Now, one thing to note, if you're going to put these together as like a trio, you probably want to paint them different colors. And I didn't think about it when I was first painting mine. I should have done them like maybe white and a seafoam, or a rust, or a yellow, or something like that, and the orange, if you're going to put them together as a trio. The other thing on these, you do not have to paint the back sides or your edges. It'll look just fine with them unfinished. If you feel that you need to and you like them that way, you can paint them, but you do not need to paint those. And then once you have your wood pieces painted, just set those aside to dry as well. Okay, so once all your pieces are painted, let's go ahead and take our tissue paper covered wood rounds, and we're just going to take sandpaper, and we're going to sandpaper around the edges to make sure that everything is nice and cleaned up. So that's all I'm doing to clean up those edges, so I'm going to clean them up. I did go ahead and paint the back sides and everything to give it a finished look, but again, you can leave them totally natural to make this an even faster and quicker project, so don't worry about that. And then while all of our paint pieces are drying, let's go ahead and weed out the vinyl words. Now there's 3 different options. One says "Hey Pumpkin," one says "Hello Pumpkin," and then the other says "Blessed." And I did one to go on one side of the pumpkin, one to go on another side of the pumpkin, and then the "Hello" kind of goes on the one side. And again, that's so that if you're going to put them as a trio, that you could have different words on them. And you could also leave the words off too, and just put it on one of the pumpkins. So you do have options and choices there. So let me speed up the video and we'll be right back. Now, if some of these letters are too small to weed, remember you can always reverse weed them by putting the your transfer tape over your vinyl and then pulling it off and then going back and weeding those. And it might be a little easier, especially because these are kind of small to do that. So give that a try if you're running into problems. Now that we have our vinyl weeded, let's go ahead and assemble our pumpkins. And all I'm doing is I'm putting the two ovals or the two rounds together, and then I'm gluing the top leopard piece over the two pieces, okay, to form the pumpkin. So nothing really difficult. And what I did is if you notice here, I'm standing them up so that I can make sure that they're even on the bottom so that they'll stand up. And then once that's done, I'm just applying more glue, and then I'm going to attach the other side of the pumpkin. And again, I'm going to push it tight next to each other, and then I'm going to stand them up to make sure that they will sit on the shelf. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that and do the same process with the wood ones as well. And you might want to hold them just a little bit long just to make sure that the glue adheres. And you could do a combination too of like E6000 and the hot glue just to make sure that if the hot glue lets loose, the E6000 will hold. And then I'm just going to take my tumble tower blocks and I'm going to attach them onto the back of the pumpkins. Now, if you attach the tumble tower block to the back of the pumpkin to sit, if you put it flat to the pumpkin into your surface, that means your pumpkin is going to stand vertical. If you put that tumble tower block up just a hair, your pumpkins will angle back just a little bit. So if you're looking at that, that might be an option to do that as well. So just kind of take a look at where you're going to place that tumble tower block. And then once you have your tumble tower blocks attached on, next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your sticks and you're just going to attach them to the top of the pumpkin where the stems will be to make it look like that stem. After you have your stems glued on, it is now time to apply our vinyl. One thing I noticed on mine is when I did Hello Pumpkin, I did it in black and I went on top of the leopard. I probably should have went with like whatever color that my pumpkin was so that the orange would have, if it would have been orange on top of it, it would have jumped off. Or I could have used an offset underneath it to help increase that so you could see that a little bit better. So just kind of a note on that when you're choosing your pumpkin or choosing where you're going to put that. If you're going to make vinyl choices, you might want to change that color. And I'm just going to go through and I'm going to attach my vinyl to the pumpkins. And again, some of the letters go to the left on one of the pumpkins, some go to the right, and then the Hello Pumpkin was straight on. So to add a finishing touch onto our pumpkins, all I'm doing is taking some, you can use jute, you could use ribbon, you could use raffia, anything like that. Just, you could use a combination of the two, whatever you like, or the three, and you're just going to take them and you can either knot it, tie a bow, whatever you like, but the choice is yours. They're your pumpkins, and attach it onto the top to give it that little extra touch onto it. You could even tie a bow and then glue it on as well. So I mean, there's so many choices and so many options. Just play around, use what you have, and have fun making making the 3D pumpkins. Again, thank you everyone for joining me. I hope you enjoy the pumpkin signs. Again, I just turned these into 3D pumpkins, but you can easily turn them into a sign, use them for sublimation on a tote. If you have a laser, you can take the SVG files and separate them into layers and cut them on your laser. The possibilities are endless. You can even cut, depending on if you have a Cricut maker or your Silhouette, you can actually cut thin pieces of wood on your machines to make your own ovals and rounds. So again, have fun. You could turn them into a shirt, and then we will catch you for the next blog video tutorial. Also remember, I have started a new craft group. Check out the website. More than happy to have everybody join us, because I want to do live tutorials, share files, do things like that, and make this group for everybody to enjoy. Thank you, and we'll check you the next time.